Welcome back to this new inspirational video. It's going to be all about the power of your divine imagination that exists within your consciousness. The more you understand this power, the more you'll be capable of achieving and experiencing. We're not just talking about achieving goals physically, but we're also talking about increasing your own mental inner well-being. It's all hidden behind the power of imagination. Now, before we start the video, I wanted to share two paragraphs from a book called The Power of Awareness that was written by Neville Goddard, and in it he said the following: when you understand the redemptive function of imagination, you hold in your hands the key to the solution of all your problems. Every phase of your life is made by the exercise of your imagination. Determined imagination alone is the means of your progress, of the fulfilling of your dreams. It is the beginning and end of all creating. The great secret is a controlled imagination and a well-sustained attention firmly and repeatedly focused on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, until it fills the mind and crowds all other ideas out of consciousness. What greater gifts could be given to you than to be told the truth that will set you free? The truth that sets you free is that you can experience in imagination what you desire to experience in reality, and by maintaining this experience in imagination, your desire will become an actuality. You are limited only by your uncontrolled imagination and lack of attention to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. When the imagination is not controlled and the intention not steadied on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, then no amount of prayer or piety or invocation will produce the desired effect. When you can call up at will whatsoever images you please, when the forms of your imagination are as vivid to you as the forms of nature, you are master of your fate. And that is exactly what the rest of this video is going to be about. To tell you of techniques, of insights that I have gained over personal use of this power that might be helpful to you. So let's get right into it. What does it mean to use your imagination? Absolutely incredible things. You might not even be able to comprehend it right now. Depending on how much you've studied the mind and how much you've actually experimented for yourself, this video is either going to be easy to follow or a little tricky at first. Regardless, it might be advanced techniques in a way, but you can become advanced by practicing it right where you are with the skills you have. Now, the kingdom of heaven is within you, that's what the Bible said. And in that phase, in that awareness, in that, revelation, we realize that the actual kingdom of heaven is your own imagination. It is the realm of imagination. Now, this doesn't make sense all the time because you might have nightmares and all sorts of negative stuff occurring inside of your imagination that actually disturb you, but it's once you tame the mind and you learn to focus on lovely things that you are indeed inside of heaven within your own consciousness, within your own imagination. This is why it's so important for you to use your imagination. It should become a motto that is written on your soul. Every day, whatever you face, say to yourself, use your imagination. So if you have bad times occur in your world, things that you don't like, use your imagination to see what you do like instead. If you are failing, if you're struggling, succeeding at something, use your imagination to see yourself succeed. If you are struggling losing weight, use your imagination to see the ideal weight, to see yourself having it. If you're financially poor and in debt, use your imagination to see the riches that you desire. Now, this is just one part of the equation. You can learn to become so skilled at this that you can do it at every second of the day, no matter what's happening. You can walk around in the street and use your imagination. You can be sitting at home, use your imagination. You can be with friends or family, something happens or you just feel you need to lift yourself up inside your consciousness. You can use your imagination even though you have your eyes wide open and they don't even notice what you're doing inside of your consciousness. Now, this is part of advanced techniques. This is when you're advanced enough, you're skilled enough to actually pull this off. So most of you probably aren't that advanced. Not to be rude or mean to you, but it's just the truth. Many people hear about this power, but they don't really control it yet to this extent. And the way that I learned to control it to this extent, and I know I can still be better at it, and I'm always working on becoming greater at it, is by taking the time to apply it. So what I did at first as a student myself years ago was to actually set aside time to close my eyes and focus on what I desire to have in my world. I would intensely focus on that, but this intense focus can only happen if you are relaxed at the same time. So your mind should not be full of worries and doubts. That means that you first have to relax the body and mind itself. You do that through meditation. You do that by laying down and closing your eyes and literally relax. But then again, if you lay down, it might cause you to fall asleep as well if you're not trained enough, if you're not really familiar with what you're really doing and what you're looking for. So perhaps a better way of doing it is to sit down, so you have less chance of falling asleep at the same time. You sit down somewhere quiet, close your eyes, and totally learn to relax. Now there are techniques to relax that you can find online. Breathing techniques, perhaps a certain piece of music helps you calm down and relax. But then once you're in that relaxed state, it's very important to start focusing on the end result that you want to manifest. So in the case of money, you start to focus on being rich, what that actually means to you, what you would encounter if you were now rich. It's pretty easy to figure that out if you're honest with yourself. It's the same for your ideal weight. It's pretty easy to figure that out. If you know what you want, weight-wise, you know what you want, so then start focusing on it. Start sensing that reality inside of yourself. That is what your imagination is for. You start to feel. Here's the key. You start to actually feel the reality of the thing you seek to manifest. So that is exactly what happens to me. I can sit down or I can lay down these days, close my eyes, and I focus on the end goal that I want to manifest, and I can sense its reality. I can sense it's actually inside of me, that I'm part of it, that I'm connected to it on a spiritual, energetic level. And because I am connected to it, because I can sense that through my solar plexus, which is the chakra in your stomach area, I start to gain all sorts of insights and hunches and ideas that help me then to ultimately move in that direction, to make stuff happen that helps me to manifest physically the thing that I'm seeing inside my imagination. So every single day, no matter what happens to me, I realize more and more if I feel bad, it's because I'm not using my imagination or I'm using it in the wrong way. See, that's where the fears come in, where the nightmares come in. It's when the imagination is running wild with all sorts of grotesque things that are not to our benefit, but we can turn it into heaven. That is the part of heaven and hell. God is with you. You know, you can be in heaven, walk in heaven. God is by your side. Make your bed in hell, and thou art with me as well. You see, that's what they said in the Bible, and that is what it's all about, because heaven and hell exist within yourself. Your imagination creates heaven and hell. Think about it. It creates the good and the bad that you experience throughout this lifetime. This is so important, therefore, to understand. If you're going through your day and you're struggling and you're feeling bad, ask yourself a simple question. Am I feeling bad because of sense perception of something that is happening in my physical world? Or am I feeling bad because I'm actually imagining something bad happening or potentially happening to me in the near future? It's either one of those two. If you're really honest with you, you're going to find out it's one of the two. And once you actually realize that it is the case, you have a choice. In that moment, you suddenly realize, but do I want to keep going like this? I don't think so. I want to be happy, prosperous, joyous, full of love. I want to feel divine union with God. Well then, start taming your mind. Start exercising your imagination. You can be physically in a horrible spot, but if you learn to calm yourself down, you can then direct and focus your imagination on something wonderful. You have to reach a point, literally, that your imagination is the most important thing in your entire life. You have to reach a point that is the most important activity that you could be involved in, is to exercise that imagination regardless of what is physically occurring in your world. At first this might seem completely crazy, and again, if you're more advanced and skilled in using this power, it makes more sense. At first it only seems crazy because you don't really see yet how it could solve your issues, how it can help you improve your circumstances and financial situation or whatever else you're after. But it is the truth. It causes your consciousness to take on a totally new form, and focus into a new direction in which your physical body will walk. Neville Goddard would say a bridge of incidents would occur, a series of events across which you walk towards the realization of your dream. That is how it happens, and the more you experiment with this, the better you become at it. That is why you have to keep repeating to yourself the motto, use your imagination. When you wake up, you might either feel good or bad, depending on how your sleep was. Perhaps you don't wake up feeling so great. Many people are suffering from this, including myself. At times I might not feel as happy. But by remembering the motto, use your imagination, I know, regardless of how I feel physically, regardless of the state of my physical world, my imagination can let me experience heaven inside of my consciousness, because heaven is within. This is the power you have to understand. Start contemplating it for yourself. Give yourself this great gift of awakening. You are a god, essentially, in a profound sleep, as we always mention. The sleep being that you are not using your imagination consciously, instead you're living on sense perception for most of the time. We need the senses in order to navigate through the physical world, but we don't need them to control our minds. We can control our own consciousness through the power of imagination. The imagination works with visions, with actual literal sensations of realities in different dimensions. And if you're dreaming, when you're asleep, your imagination is in high gear and you actually get to experience these realities as if they are just as real as when you seem to be awake physically. That is the beauty of it all. This power of imagination can set you free, but only if you are willing to put in the work. So again, use your imagination. What are you facing right now that seems to be an obstacle, that seems to be overcome, or that you need to overcome? Well, whatever it is, use your imagination to see that solution, to see the successful execution of your dream, to see that you have succeeded already. See it inside your mind. Use your imagination, because that is what it is for. It is meant to help you overcome all of the physical world and ultimately enter into the glory and unity of God, which means becoming a co-creator with the universe itself. That is your destiny. Now that's quite a lot to take in, isn't it? But again, I told you, it's kind of advanced techniques, but at the same time this is what is in store for you if you start simple and from the basis where everybody starts who hasn't applied this power consciously yet. First, learn to take time every single day to actually discover and experience for yourself that your imagination can influence the way you feel. So no matter how bad things seem to be, by exercising your imagination, in other words, by seeing inside your mind's eye, by intensely focusing on what you do desire to have, you learn to feel joyous and prosperous and happy and love. You actually start to feel greater and greater the more you exercise your imagination. And then as you feel great in that sense, you also start to take action in a more powerful way. You can't help it. You just become compelled and inspired and motivated to do all sorts of stuff in order to improve your life. And then the more you experiment with that, the more you become familiar with it, the more skilled you become at it at the same time, and it becomes easier to do it no matter when. I can be anywhere in this world and I can exercise my imagination and connect myself inwardly with the good I desire. I can shift my emotional state at command. Now, I know I'm not the greatest at it yet, but I've become better and better at it over the years in comparison. And that is the beauty of it all, because once you hold that power, once you wield that power, really think about it for a second. No matter what happens to you, even though it is bad physically, and we would agree on it, you can still feel great by the power of your imagination, regardless of what happened. And the beautiful part about all of this is that that is how you will find the joy of living. That is when life truly takes on its true meaning, its true joy, its true beauty. It's by being in control of your own mind. And the imagination will help you do that. So remember the motto, write it on your soul. Use your imagination. No matter what I'm facing today, good or bad, especially if it's something bad that doesn't make me feel good, then it needs to be a signal. Use your imagination to see something great instead. Learn to focus on that. Learn to embrace the things you want in your imagination. Make them so real to yourself, so important to you, that the imagination is the only power that you turn to from now on. That is how you become a great manifester of life. Now, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive inspirational videos on a regular basis. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.